Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Sports Talk with Austin, your daily dose of sports and entertainment. On today's show, we've got a fabulous show planned for you here tonight. It's kind of spur of the moment kind of thing, but I thought it'd be kind of cool in the midst of March Madness. I know that's what a lot of people are talking about at this juncture of the year because who isn't talking about March Madness? Number one, it's the best time of year, but the NFL draft is the next big thing around the corner, and I do love me some football as well. Talking about the Dallas Cowboys, one of my favorite team in the NFL. And so I decided, why not talk about the mock draft? Talked about where the team's futures are going, talking about who could go where, who could be placed where. And it's all in your hands tonight because this is the 2025 NFL Mock Draft Call-In Show. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, and would like to pitch in, the link is in the comment section below. Come join in. Let's talk and work through this together. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, the Cowboys like me, the Vikings. Come talk about this mock draft, and we'll get the conversation cooking and started. It's going to be fun. Talk about all the hidden gems that are always in the draft. It's a fun time of year. I cannot wait to talk about it and get things going. But before you do that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bells so you never miss another great video because it really does help the algorithm, help the channel grow, and lets me know I'm doing a good job and I'm servicing you all well. So I try my best around here. And this is one of them things. Now let's get into business. The NFL mock draft, it's what we see a lot. It's all about the bright superstars and future superstars coming into the league. From Justin Jefferson to Jaden Daniels to AJ Green to Matthew Stafford, all those guys that were touted as top draft picks delivered on the billing. And then we've also had some hidden gems in the draft. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. Of course, Tom Brady was the biggest one. Gronk. So you never know where these hit and misses could come from, the prospects that'll flop, which ones will proceed to be greatness. And there are some teams at the top of the NFL draft board that need a positional needs, and there's some teams that might be looking to trade and might be thinking about trading and mortgaging their future or going all in. And there's a lot of talk about who's going to go number one, and that's always the biggest question, right? Who's going to go number one? And the Tennessee Titans, who have the number one overall pick in the NFL draft, and we're going to look at this mock draft here from CBS Sports, and we're going to kind of go through it. I'm going to kind of give you my opinions, what I think, and kind of give you what I think could happen, and kind of give you my take on it overall, because that's what I'm here for. Just and kind of give you my take, give you what I think. So Titans had the number one pick. They're coming off a year where they had some nice pieces, but they fired Mike Vrabel the year before. Bryce Callahan comes in, and they're kind of in a bad division. Not really much. Their division, and it consists of the Texans, Colts, and Jaguars. And we all know the Jaguars situation. We all know the Texans and Colts situation. The Titans are kind of in that little ruffle of a spot where, okay, they've got some talent, they've got some good pieces, i.e. Jeffrey Simmons on the defense. Their running backs, after letting Derrick Henry go, that was a big addition that left, obviously. And Will Levis he was a turnover machine last year. And many people want to ponder, where could Tennessee go with this pick? Could they take a quarterback? Could they go for a receiver? Could they, go for a running back? Or could they trade down to someone who really needs a quarterback? And it's all very interesting, to say the least. But according to CBS Sports, they have the Titans taking Cam Ward with the number one overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. And that's interesting because there's a lot of things that could happen with Tennessee. I've seen some say that they're going to trade down, and a team like Cleveland or a team that needs a quarterback is going to jump up there. But the Titans also are in a situation where they need a quarterback too. And a good friend of mine, Jackson Johnson of the Jacksonian, who's a Tennessee Titans fan. Jackson, if you're out there, feel free to call in. Give me your opinion on this take. I got the call in link in the comments sections. This is what the show's for. It's a call in show. Y'all come give me your opinion. I won't bite. But Jackson, who's a Titans fan, he'll be honest with you plain as day what he thinks. But as far as what I think for the Titans, the thing with the Titans is, like I said, they let Derrick Henry walk, and they kind of almost started from scratch again. Started over. They've still got some veteran pieces there that are still in their prime. Could they use this draft pick to, maybe trade down and then get some more picks in the future? They could. But taking Cam Ward overall, my thing is with Cam Ward, he's got a lot of athletic ability. He's got a heck of an arm. He improvises on the run. I like Cam Ward, but him sitting out the second half of that bowl game against Iowa State in the Pop-Tart Bowl, how much will that affect his draft stock? According to CBS Sports, they have him going number one overall to the Titans, which, like I said, Jackson, if you're out there, feel free to come comment about this. Be my guest. Jackson is a Tennessee Titans fan. And Hummus Hero is here. He says, "Hey, Austin, my good friend. What's up, Hummus? Welcome in." And Hummus Hero, who is a Ohio State and Cincinnati Bengals fan. Obviously, the Bengals, we're going to get to them in a minute. They've got some interesting choices they could take as well. And one of the Bengals' arch rivals, the Cleveland Browns, has the second overall pick. And it looks like CBS Sports has them projected to take Abdul Carter, which is not a bad selection for the Browns. After their whole debacle with Myles Garrett and him saying he wanted to be traded just to sign a brand new spanking deal. And, just imagine Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett. I mean, that's probably going to be one of the best pass rush duos of all time in Cleveland Browns history, I would say. Maybe probably the best in NFL history if Abdul lives up to his potential. My thing is with the Browns, they're another team. Deshaun Watson, before all of his allegations and his scandals, I would have said he was a borderline top 10 quarterback. I think the world of Deshaun, despite the issues off the field. But the Browns paid him a lot of money, and he's been injured and has been very inconsistent at best. So my thing is, with a franchise player like Myles Garrett, do the Browns do they take another defense guy like CBS Sports is predicting and Abdul Carter to pair with Myles Garrett, or do they go with a quarterback and take Shador, Cam, or make a trade with the Titans and give the Titans something back? Or the Titans trade down one? Because the Browns are one of them teams, I don't say they need a quarterback, but it's almost if Deshaun doesn't live up to his fulfillment and to his contract, they may be put in a position where they'll have to cut him, and then there's the whole dead cap. But CBS Sports predicted them to take Abdul Carter. I'm not against that. But I would rather them take a quarterback because they've got some good pieces in Cleveland. Don't get me wrong. Cleveland, on paper, is a playoff team, in my opinion. And they've shown that. And Kevin Stefanski is a very, very good head coach. I think the situation he's been dealt over the past couple years has been crappy. And the fact that he's been able to come out of it on the better end, good for him. But for Cleveland, I would say take a quarterback, because if Deshaun doesn't prove what, and Hummus Hero makes a comment, thank you for being here, Hummus. He says, I think the Browns will take whoever they think is the best player available and get a project quarterback in the second or third round. That's a good point, Hummus. That's a very valid point. Come to think of it, you're right. The if if the quarterback is the best available player, which could be, they'll take them. But like you said, they could get a project quarterback and get a Jackson Dart or a Tyler Shug and develop, because, like I said, Cleveland's not as bad off as some of these teams are. I mean, like they're one of those teams, one of those rare teams where they've got a lot of good, decent pieces. Like I said, a playoff team on paper. It's just they're not getting the injuries, and quarterback is all not lining up, in my opinion. But like you said, though, Hummus, that's a good point. Abdul Carter will probably be the second best player available, or Travis Hunter, and they could go either way. I mean, they got. I mean, the Browns, they're an interesting choice. Me personally, I would take the quarterback, but I wouldn't be objected to them taking Abdul or Travis or taking an old lineman, because the Browns, old lineman, if Chubb could stay healthy, the Browns could have a nice running game. And then you go to third overall. You got the New York Giants, and they're projected to take Shadur Sanders. Dion's kid. And Shadur, the Giants, unfortunately, they paid a lot of money to Daniel Jones, and it backfired. As we can all see, they had to let him go, release him, and let him walk. Saquon, he had his problems with the Giants as well, and he went off to win a Super Bowl in Philly. And the Giants, they're starting from scratch. Like Brian Daboll, like Kevin Stefanski, I think is a really good head coach. It's just in a crappy, crappy situation. And Shador could be the perfect quarterback to start over with. They've got the Giants have got some pieces to build around. Their defensive line, one of the best in but pro football, but their O line needs a lot of work. Their quarterback, their running back room is so subpar. I just think there's a lot there to be desired for the Giants, and in my opinion, it, they could go multiple different directions, but I'm not object to them taking Shadur round one and taking him with third overall pick. It's a good starting point. And then you've got the fourth pick, the New England Patriots taking Will Campbell. The Patriots need a lot of help. Gerard Mayo, after 1 year, he got let go. The core was let loose, and the Patriots have been famously known to take not so much the sexy pick in round one. And Will Campbell, offensive tackle, he's a projected sixth, projected second round. But as CBS Sports says, they could see the Patriots taking him at fourth to help out with the O line. It's interesting. Then you've got the Jaguars with the fifth pick, taking Travis Hunter, a do-it-all guy. We know Trevor Lawrence, who was unable to stay healthy, firing Doug Peterson. The Jaguars, like I said, they're in fluctuation. What are they situations going to look like? And Travis Hunter, he's a do-it-all guy. He could play corner. He could play receiver. Can that translate over to the league? I don't know. Deion Sanders did it there for a minute, but wearing the candle out at both ends. I mean, can he play like he did in college, play 90% of his snaps on both sides? I don't know. Like Travis Hunter, I think is super talented. I think he's really good. He won the Heisman, of course, absolutely deserved it. But can he do it on both sides? Especially for the Jaguars. They've got some nice receiving core pieces. They're not too terrible. The Jaguars could slot him in as a corner safety because their defense took a hit last year. But we'll have to see. And then with the sixth pick, the Las Vegas Raiders taking Ashton Genty, which is interesting because the Raiders are another team that, just traded for Geno Smith at quarterback. Were they a team that's in the quarterback market? Pete Carroll's coming to town. Max Crosby got a brand new deal. And Ashton Genty, you know, ever since Josh Jacobs left, could Ashton Genty be the guy to fill the shoes? Now that Jacobs is gone, a do-it-all back, second in Heisman voting, led Boise State all time in rushing. I mean, it's a nice pick for the Raiders, especially for the type of football Pete Carroll likes to play, which is smash mouth, run it down your throat, and grind out the clock and make it a 20-17 type ball game. So it's interesting. I mean, it's a good pick for the Raiders, especially now that they've traded for Geno Smith, which makes me believe Pete Carroll has belief in him, and he believes that he is going to be there for the long term, the long haul. Now with the seventh overall pick, you've got the Jets, who are projected to take Mason Graham at defensive line from Michigan. And the Jets, what a wreckage that they've got to fix. They signed Aaron Rodgers, traded for Devontae, Alan Lazard. And the Jets are almost starting from scratch, kind of. Because now Aaron Rodgers, who they thought was going to take them to the Super Bowl, which we all figured out, Aaron Rodgers was not the Aaron Rodgers of old. And now the Jets taking Mason Graham at D-line, projected by CBS Sports. I mean, it's a good choice because the Jets have a great defense. Sauce Gardner, one of the best corners in football. But are they another team that could possibly go for a quarterback? Could they go for another wide receiver to pair with Garrett Wilson? Now that Devontae's in LA after they released him. But I like the Jets because their run defense was kind of soft. So Mason Graham being a run stuffer, being hard-nosed, will really help the Jets. And Hummus Hero says, I'm now going to be rooting for the Jets since they got Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson. That's true, Hummus. I'm glad you bring that up. Justin Fields is now the new sheriff in town. Could the Jets could he be the starting quarterback? Could he be the guy? And Mason Graham bolsters this D-line. And like Hummus says, I mean, you've got Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson, the Ohio State connection. I mean, they've already got built-in chemistry with one another. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets' offense doesn't need time to take rhythm, so to speak, because Fields and Wilson know each other very well from their days back in the Buckeye uniform. We'll have to see. But then you've got the eighth pick, the Carolina Panthers, taking Jalen Walker edge. Now, the Panthers, they're a team that got kind of hot, kind of streaky towards the end of the year. Like, they finally started to put it together a little bit. Bryce Young started to come along. They kind of were putting it together, showing some signs of life, some signs of semblance. Now, could it have been their opponents were playing down to them? Sure. But Jalen Walker at edge, Carolina hasn't had a dominant rusher since Julius Peppers, in my opinion. So I'm fine with this pick. Maybe take an old lineman here if you're the Panthers. Couldn't hurt. I mean, their receivers kind of young. I mean, Adam Thielen's the veteran on the team. I mean, he's going to age out, of course, but he's still having one of his best statistical years he's had. I mean, he's not Minnesota Adam Thielen by any stretch, but he's still a red zone threat. Chuba Hubbard at running back. The Panthers have got a nice foundational piece. Their defense, like I said, they haven't had a dominant pass rusher since Julius Peppers, in my opinion. I'm okay with Walker. I would take Will Campbell. I would take an old lineman here. I think they got this one right on the money, in my opinion. It does not hurt to have an edge rusher on your team, especially if you're the Panthers. You got the ninth pick. You've got the New Orleans Saints projected to take Tyler Warren, which is interesting because the Saints, they're a team with Chris Olave, Taysom Hill, Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara. They're a team that's got top 15 players spread across the board. And Taysom Hill, he's a do it all kind of guy. And he mostly plays in the Wildcat. And here's the thing, Tyler Warren, I think would be a good fit on it just about any team. I don't think there's many teams you could say Tyler Warren's not going to fit. And Derek Carr has always had, assuming Derek Carr will be the starting quarterback for the Saints, this would be a nice fit because Derek Carr has always loved his tight ends. But the problem is the Saints O-line, it's not getting any younger. They've drafted a couple pieces at O-line that are kind of, they've been hit the injury bug. That some depth on the O-line could help them. The Saints defense, they've lost a lot of pieces, from the defense that they had back in 2020, CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's been bouncing around, Marshawn Lattimore, he's no longer there. So the Saints have got some options. I get why you go tight end here. They do need a tight end to add to that offense, but I would go defense if I was the Saints. I know Cam Jordan, he's aging out. There's a lot of picks I can go with the Saints. Tyler Warren, I would say you could get if he could fit another team. And Hummus says Tyler Warren is going to immediately approve any offense. He's so talented. Yes, Hummus, you add him to any roster. And the thing with Tyler Warren is he can do a little bit of everything like we saw at Penn State. That's why I'm not too against this, because the Saints at times did struggle on offense, even with all the talent that they do have. Even with a guy like Alvin Kamara, who can literally bust a defensive game plan. And Tyler Warren could just be that guy that makes it harder on defenses. Like now, not only do you have to play him for Alvin Kamara, but guess what? Now you got a tight end who can run any route, who can do just a combination of things. So I agree with your point, Hummus. Hummus, absolutely. Any offense you put him on he's going to immediately make an impact. Then we got the 10th pick. We've got the Bears, who are projected to take Kelvin Banks Jr. at offensive tackle. And the Bears, that's been one of the things that they haven't hit on in a long time is linemen. And with a quarterback like Caleb Williams, who at times showed strides of brilliance, and at times last year showed what the heck kind of throw was that. He took a lot of sacks. And the Caleb Williams defenders out there will say it's not all him. And I agree to a certain extent. Like the Bears O-line has been bad for a better part of a decade. But if you're Caleb Williams, though, you got to help your own linemen. When the journey's over, throw it away. This isn't like you were at USC where you stand back here and twirl and spin. And you got to know, get out of the pocket. If you can't make a play, throw it away. And he also had trouble with turnovers. So, and that's the thing too. I mean, I'm not trying to translate this all to Caleb Williams. A lot of it, I would say 60% of it is on him. And Hummus Hero says, is Kelvin Banks the tackle that Jack Sawyer beat for the strip sack, or was that the other side? I believe that, I'm trying to think. I believe it was Hummus, yeah. I believe that was, because I think they're friends, aren't they? If I remember correctly. Or no? Now you got me thinking. I know he's the best projected O-lineman, I think, coming out of the draft, obviously. But it was either on his side or the other side, Hummus. I know I know it was in that game, like you said. I want to say it was on his side, if I remember correctly. It's been a minute. But I want to say you're right, Hummus. I believe it was. If I remember watching the play. Yeah, because I remember I think they did because that was one they were talking about that heavy, like, because they projected him so high. But I don't mind this pick for the Bears. O-line help for them is good. They need it, and they need it badly. And then with the 11th pick, the 49ers, a team who was rattled with injuries. Typically, a team like San Francisco with Super Bowl talent normally wouldn't be here. But due to being hit with the injury bug, and then obviously the IU going down, and now Debo Samuel in Washington, the 49ers have got a lot of cleaning up to do. And them taking a corner with the 11th pick, I'm not against it. Because that seems to be the one health issue for them. Can their corner stay healthy? I don't mind this pick for the 49ers. I mean, their offense is also now, can CMC stay healthy? Kittle's been the one consistent offense. Brock Purdy's been banged up. I mean, how will Ayuk rebound? So the 49ers and their O-line depth, they could always draft an O-lineman later on. 49ers are another team. Going to be interesting to watch. And then with the 12th pick, you've got my Dallas Cowboys, which is no secret what our situation is. We lack wide receiver depth. We lack a running back. Don't get me wrong. I like Rico Dowdle. I think he's a good complementary piece. But Will Johnson at number 12 from Michigan, I'm all for it. I think him along with Diggs and Bland healthy, I think he's going to be it's going to be one of these years where we need to hit on our draft pick. And this would be a nice draft pick. I wouldn't mind taking Mason Graham if he's still there, or if somehow Abdul Carter falls. We need to hit on our draft pick. There's a whole lot of places we can go. We just paid Turfin, who's an all-around special teams guy, who can do it all, has done it all. From the UFL, I think. So I don't mind this pick. We need help a lot of everywhere. Can Dak come back healthy? Our old line, Zach Martin retired. Wouldn't be surprised if we take an old lineman here. So there's multiple choices where we can go here, in my opinion. Now with the 13th pick, you got Walter Nolan, defensive line for the Dolphins. This is going to be one of them for the Dolphins, where they've got Waddle, Tyree. Their offense is going to be fine. It's their defense. Christian Wilkins, who left for the Raiders in free agency, he was the heart and soul of that defense. How are they going to handle that piece being missing? It's going to be one of them interesting things. Walter Nolan, this high up, I don't mind it because the Dolphins desperately need it. And like I said, the call-in link is in the chat. If anyone wants to come talk to me, if anyone has any predictions of their own, any hidden gems, or want to talk about the NFL in general, there's the call-in link. This is what this is for. And then we got the 14th overall pick, Tyler Booker for the Colts. We've got the 15th pick, Shamir Stewart, defensive line for the Falcons. We've got Kenneth Grant, D-line for the Cardinals. The Cardinals not getting any younger. Cardinals kind of restarting over. They had kind of a surprise year last year. How can the Cardinals rebound? Defensive line, start young, start healthy. Jonathan Gannon, who's a defensive mastermind. What a great place for him to bring Arizona back. Make them a stingy defense. And then 17th, the Bengals, Derek Harmon. Hummus, if you're still here, I know you're a Bengals fan, Hummus. Let me know in the chat, or if you want to call in, let me know what you think of Derek Harmon. to the Bengals. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? What do you think? Let me know. I don't think it could hurt for the Bengals. I mean, considering they just paid Higgins and Chase, Trey Hendrickson. I mean, what's his future in Cincinnati hold? I mean, Hummus, if you're in the chat or if you'd like to call in, like I said, what do you think of the Bengals pick at 17, or what would you suggest the Bengals do? Let me know. And then at 18, we've got the Seahawks, who are kind of on rebuild mode in a way under Mike McDonald. Got them taking an OT, offensive tackle. I don't mind it. Not one bit. I think it's interesting choice. Should be interesting to see. I mean the Seahawks kind of rebuilding, replanting their roster. We'll have to see what comes of it. I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch. 19th pick, Jahad Campbell, linebacker, Alabama, to Tampa Bay with the 19th pick. Could be interesting. I mean, Tampa's been relatively good in that department. We'll have to see. Got the 20th pick with the Broncos, Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. I mean, the Broncos have Javonte Williams. I mean, Broncos could use some running back depth for sure. I mean, they kind of had a surprising year that bolted them forward. So we'll have to see what comes of them. I don't mind Omarion Hampton at 20. At 21, you've got Jackson Dart for the Steelers. So they got, according to CBS Sports, Jackson Dart goes in the top 20, 25. I mean, Steelers, after letting Fields go, Russell Wilson had a decent year. He got had the competition with Fields, played his tail off, and then kind of down the stretch went a little bit downhill. Not too bad, but Steelers, they're run heavy. Offensive line, defense. Jackson Dart could be a project quarterback, sit behind Russell Wilson a couple years. He's got an incredible arm. His perception to read the defense. I don't mind this pick for the Steelers. They're looking for that next franchise guy. Since Big Ben's left, should be interesting. You've got Colston Loveland at tight end for the Chargers at 22. Jim Harbaugh loves his tight ends. Another Michigan product. Wouldn't be surprised if he takes tight end O lineman. The Packers, Malik Williams from Georgia at 23. The Vikings at 24, taking a safety, and Nick Emerald from South Carolina. Gary Ziebler from North Dakota State, 25 for the Texans. Matthew Golden from Texas at 26 for the Rams. A speed guy. Could add another dimension to the Rams offense, along with Tutu Atwell and the addition of Vontae Adams. Certified speed guy. And could break open a defensive game plan at any point in time. So interesting there. At 27, Mike Green from Marshall for the Ravens. At 28 for the Lions, Donovan Jackson. At 29, McMillan from Arizona for the Commanders. Already adding to an embarrassment of riches of Deebo Samuel, Scary Terry. And if you add McMillan in there as well for Jaden Daniels, the Commanders' offense is only going to get even more scarier and more frightening. We finally thought we got rid of the Commanders, and Lord have mercy, here they come again. Jaden Daniels, first year takes them to the NFC Championship game. I mean, it's an interesting pick for the Commanders. And then at 30 for the Bills, Maxwell Harrison at corner from Kentucky. The Bills, Elam wasn't the long-term solution. interesting there. The Chiefs at 31 take Simmons from Ohio State, offensive tackle. Chiefs take if Hummus, if you're still here, I bet you like that pick from Kansas City. And lastly, Josh Conley Jr., tackle from Oregon for the Super Bowl champion Eagles at 32. So some offense. This is a draft heavy offensive tackle. Going to be interesting to say the least, in my opinion, definitely. And I'll say this too. This is what CBS Sports is projecting. Very interesting. I don't agree with all of them, but most of them I agree with. I mean, every team's different in their needs, and I'm sure free agency, a lot of that has changed. I mean, Sam Darnold in Seattle, you know, his big year off Minnesota. What exactly does his future? He got paid a big chunk. How does that affect who the Seahawks draft? So it's very interesting, and I'll say this. It's always a fun time of year to do these mocks because you never know who's gonna be a riser, who's gonna be a faller. And like I said, diamonds in the roughs. Absolutely. Like I mentioned, Tyler Shuck from Louisville. He's a guy that is starting to get some draft talk. He's obviously one that's going to be talked about. There's a whole lot of risers and fallers, in my opinion, that we'll talk about over the months. But like I said, I've got the call-in link right here. If you all would like to call in, feel free to as well. Hummus, Jackson, anybody, Daryl, y'all out in the chat. If y'all would like to call in, you're more than welcome to. Talk about the NFL draft. We talk a little, see what you all think. Get your feelings on your teams. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. But while I got you guys here, and I want to pose this question, but the NFL draft, there's always those one teams that steals somebody, so to speak, or hits a diamond in the rough. And I want to ask the chat who y'all think that could be this year. Who's that one team that's going to make that one move that you're like, okay, but it ends up being a great pick at the end? I personally think the Rams, obviously they've had a history of hitting on their picks. They've had a history of hitting on their picks, and they've been a team that has not had a lot of first round picks. Excuse me. And here they are once again. They finally have a first round pick. What could the future hold for them? Them should be interesting. And now I will say this too. It's one of them things where not to ramble on or anything, because like I said, there's the call-in link if anybody wants to call in. But I'll talk about the Cowboys here. I honestly think the Cowboys, we're a team, we need a lot, like I said. And I think there's a lot in the draft for us. There's a lot that I think could occur for us. I think we could take Genty if he falls. We could take Genty. Like with Sam. We could take, like the mock draft said, take Will Johnson. Johnson. I mean, we could go offensive lineman. Lineman. I mean, it's all very interesting what we could do. What I think we will do, I mean, we also could take a wide receiver. And it's one of them things for me where if I'm Jerry Jones, Dak, CD all took restructured contracts. We got to hit it big here on the free agency market. Obviously, not the free agency market, pardon me, the draft board. What can we do to bolster our team? Because we're in cap debt big time, obviously. So what can we do in the draft market to ensure we get low contracts, but we get the most value out of our picks for however long we sign these guys for, whether it's 2, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the rookie contract is we agree upon. And I honestly think, for me personally, I think we've got to hit on our groups, like I said, big time. Got to hit on it. We got to because the Super Bowl window is only open a limited time. And Jerry has said multiple times he thinks that we have a Super Bowl ready roster now. And to be quite honest with you, the way we played last year, I don't see it. I could be wrong, but just the realist expectations. Obviously, like Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty. If somehow Dual Carter falls to us, him and Mike on the same side of the field, two Penn State guys. Talk about bolstering our defense. I mean, definitely is something to keep an eye out for. And my thing is too, if you're the Cowboys, what is your ultimate goal? It's to win the Super Bowl. Because why else would Dak and CD ask for big paydays and then restructure? And it just goes back to my point of we got to hit on the draft because free agency, we threw a dud. We literally threw a dud. And it's coming back to bite us big time. And and that's my concern is obviously there's things that are out of our control, right? DeMarcus Lawrence left in free agency to the Seahawks. He was another addition for the Seahawks. And then Jordan Lewis, he left as well. And a lot of those guys left with sour taste in their mouths. And now we have to fill in positions everywhere. So this draft is going to be huge for us and us specifically. But I'll say this. Like I said, the StreamYard link is in the chat if anybody wants to come talk to me. If not, I'm going to end it right here. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, what y'all think your teams could do or should do. I mean, everybody's team is different. Everybody has different values to their team. I'll say this too. Like I said, last go around, StreamYard link in there if you want to come talk to me. Talk to me about your team. If not, if there's any topics you would like me to talk about, StreamYard link is here as well. Feel free. I'm going to stay on for at least another 5-10 minutes. Kind of look through. talk about the draft a little more, maybe sprinkle in a little March Madness. But there's the link if anybody wants to come chat with me. But kind of looking towards the future, of the draft. Draft 5. Pull this up here. Here we go. NFL draft. I'll show you another site. Share this screen here. Share screen. Okay. There's another mock draft that I have found that I think could be very helpful in this situation as well. Kind of take a look at that. And like I mentioned, call-in links in the chat if you'd like to come talk. Feel free, more than welcome. Give me your thoughts on this and let me know what you think. If you think let me know what your team needs or in general about the overall landscape of the draft. Feel free, more than welcome. I'm here to chat, of course. And I'm just going to, and if you think your team is going to win the Super Bowl and the draft is just a throwaway, come talk to me about that if you'd like. But it's in there, and if nobody wants to hop on, that's cool too. I'm gonna go through this mock here, take you all through that, and then we'll head out for the night. If no one wants to call in, which is cool. And Dreadnought Fear says Shador will go 2. Interesting. Interesting, Dreadnought Fear. Excuse me. I mean, that's not a bold take. A lot of people would agree with you. I mean, according to this mock draft here, the Browns taking Abdul Carter. And I mean, let me ask you, Dreadnought Fear, do you think the Browns will take him at 2, or do you think a team will trade up for him? In your opinion? Because obviously the consensus is the Titans are going to take Cam Ward, which, like I said, is not a bad choice. Don't get me wrong. He's talented. He's got an arm. He's a playmaker. He's a baller. He's a gamer, as I like to say. My thing is with Cam is, what is his characteristics? What is he as a player? Because he decided to sit out the second half of the bowl game. Now, I get it. Bowl games are meaningless to some people, that they don't mean anything. But characteristics should be an evaluation process. Because if your character is not good to great, then how do we know you won't quit on your team in the pros? Like I said, though, talent-wise, Cam Ward is one of the... And Dreadnought Fear says, the Browns are another team who will trade up to number 2. That's a good point. Now, let me ask you this, Dreadnought Fear. Do you think... reason why I question this is because it seems like they're pretty confident the Browns are going to stick it out with Deshaun. Like I said earlier, I think Deshaun's talented. He's borderline top 10 when healthy, amidst all the personal issues. My problem is he can't stay healthy. And he's got those off-field issues. In my opinion, I wouldn't mind them taking Abdul Carter. Like you said, I wouldn't mind them taking Shador. I mean, he's a ready quarterback now, and the Browns already have a playoff roster, in my opinion. I've said that a couple different times already tonight. I think the Browns are the most playoff ready out of the top 5. And that may be a bold take, but I think it's true. You got Myles Garrett, you got Denzel Ward, you got Nick Chubb, you've got Jerry Jeudy, who's a nice receiver. And I think the Browns they've got a nice old line. I think the quarterback's going to be the biggest key for them, like you're mentioning. But I could also see a world where they do take Abdul to pair with Myles Garrett, or they take another corner, or take another safety to have depth, or another old lineman. I could see him taking a receiver. I could see him taking Travis Hunter. I know it's a shot in the dark, and I may be crazy for saying that, but I could see that. I absolutely could. Could. And as we go down the list here they have the Giants taking Travis Hunter at third. They have the Patriots taking Will Campbell from LSU, which the Patriots have been known to take old linemen in the first round. Jaguars taking Mason Graham from Michigan. Ashton Genty to the Raiders, projected 6th overall. 7th overall, the Jets taking old lineman from Missouri. Don't know how to pronounce that name. My apologies. Don't want to butcher it. The Panthers taking McMillan at 8 from Arizona. Wouldn't hurt for the Panthers to take another receiver. Absolutely would not. Would not hurt at all. And Dreadnought Fear says Browns trade down. That's a good point. Absolutely. Good point. Dreadnought Fear. I could see that too. Saints, 9th overall. Let me say this right. Shamir Stewart from Texas A&M. 9th overall in this mock. The Bears take Tyler Warren. Interesting, considering their biggest need is the O-line. Is this one, and Hummus, this one is bleachernation.com. Hummus, this is the one this one comes from. I did Pro Football Focus and I did CBS Sports, and now I found one on Bleacher Nation. Hummus. Let me get back to my pick. Tyler Warren with the Bears. I mean, another weapon for Caleb Williams, but if he's got no line help, it ain't going to do him no good. I mean, Tyler Warren is an excellent blocking tight end. Don't get me wrong. But don't get me wrong. The Bears still need O-line help. Now, maybe they get it later on, and this is just what projected from round one. We can get in the weeds around 2, 3, and 4, and y'all can in the chat can get in and tell me what y'all think. Hummus, since you're here, Hummus, what do you think the Bengals will do in round one? And Dreadnought Fear says the Steelers need to trade up for a QB. So let me ask you this, Dreadnought Fear. You're not a believer in Russell Wilson, I take it. And which that's completely okay. Are you in the belief that Russell Wilson is not going to be the quarterback of the future? That he's going to age out sooner rather than later? Niners at 11 take Mike Green from Marshall. Number 12, Will Johnson from Michigan. Miami Dolphins take Kenneth Grant from Michigan. Christian Wilkins, who left in free agency to the Raiders. Dolphins will probably 90% sure take a defensive lineman because Christian Wilkinson, is a big loss. And the Dolphins defense at times has been injury prone. Definitely could use all the depth they need. And Kenneth Grant's a really good player, run stuffer. I think it's a good pick. Indianapolis Colts take Jahad Campbell from Alabama, 14. Falcons take James Pierce Jr., 15. They let go of Grady Jarrett. And Dreadnought Fear says, I like Russ Wilson, but he will sign by another team. That's a good point. Russ is at the age of his career where he wants to be on a team that can win a Super Bowl this instant right now, and the Steelers are kind of in that mixed of they lost Najee Harris, the old line's kind of deteriorated a little bit. I could see that, or maybe Russell Wilson stays, like I said, and they draft a quarterback, like you're saying, and he's there one more year, and he kind of maybe a Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, or a Riley Leonard sit under the learning tree. I could see that being a possibility too for the Steelers, dread not fear. I could. Or what you said could be possibly true as well. They could just be like, okay, let's get a quarterback and throw him right into the fire. I could see that as well. It's interesting, in my opinion. And then you 16, you got Walter Nolan, D-line from Ole Miss. You've got the Bengals, Jalon Walker from Georgia, 17 for the Bengals. Hummus, your team. Hummus, if you're still in the chat, what do you think about that for the Bengals? And if you want to, Hummus, you can call in if you would like. You don't have to. Let me know in the chat. I'd like to know your thoughts on this pick for the Bengals, what you think. But, like, interesting because, like Trey Hendrickson, what's his situation going to be? Would not hurt. Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas for the Seahawks. Seahawks definitely trying to build an O-line behind Sam Darnold and Kenneth Walker. I mean, it's Sam Darnold. We see what happens when he doesn't have an offensive line. I mean, he crumbles under pressure. And Hummus says, I wouldn't mind getting Walker. So you're a fan of that, Hummus. I mean, what do you think, Hummus? Who else would you like to get for the Bengals? And Dread Not Fear, who would you like to see for your team get drafted as well? We could also use a good safety. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, the Bengals don't need any wide receivers. I mean, almost like I said, you could draft an old lineman. I mean, could the Bengals trade up and get an old lineman? Sure. I mean, wouldn't be the worst thing I've seen anybody do. I mean, Joe Burrow needs all the protection he can get. Get for sure. I mean, the Buccaneers taking Jahad Barron from Texas at 19. Broncos taking Nick Emerald. Try saying that last name twice. From South Carolina, 20. 21. They have Shador falling all the way down to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, that's interesting. That is interesting. Shador at 21 to the Steelers. That's a long way for a top 5 pick to fall. And Hummus says the safety from Texas, whose name is escaping me. I know who you're talking about too, Hummus. It's not coming to me right now either. Crap, what is that name? But I'm thinking of that. Shador all the way down. Madam Boo. Try saying this. I can't say it. That's the guy who Hummus was. I'm sorry I couldn't pronounce that without butchering it. I'm so sorry, but that's interesting as well. But this is something I don't think we should overlook. According to BN Nation, and Dreadnought Fear says, Troy, these last names are hard to pronounce for me. I'm sorry, guys. My apologies. Who's offensive tackle drafted in the first round last year, injured and out all of last year. So get maybe some more O-line depth is where you're leaning, Dreadnought Fear. Some more depth at the O-line. Get someone who's gonna stay more healthy. I could see that too as well. But Shador falling all the way to 21. What is it that... Now, listen, everybody's got different opinions, of course. But what is it I'm missing that Shador would fall all the way this low? Like, Like, he's got a good arm. He's mobile. He's not turnover prone. I don't think he has character issues. So this is kind of interesting why they think Shador would fall that far. Because I would think the lowest I would see Shador falling is maybe top 15. And that's if things just don't come up how they like. I'm trying to fathom a world where Shador doesn't go top 10. Because he's got every bit of ability and skill you need to be a good to great quarterback in this league. So him falling to 21 in this mock draft I, raises some questions, raises some eyebrows. I mean, it would be a great get for the Steelers. Don't get me wrong. It would be like a bunch of money falling in their hands, in my opinion. And Dreadnought Fear said, should the Steelers select Shador Sanders or trade for Brock Purdy? Or Purdy, my bad. That's a good question, Dreadnought Fear, because if Shador's sitting right there like this is telling us he is, I would take him. I wouldn't think about it. You're a once in a generation quarterback like Shador, and you're just gonna pass him up. I wouldn't, and I think he would work good in Mike Tomlin's system. He would have a run game, unlike he did at Colorado. He would have Pickens and DK Metcalf to throw to. The Steelers would be the best situation for him to go to. Like, if he's going to fall this far, instead of him going to the Giants or the Jets. This is going to be something where if he does fall to the Steelers, then then the Steelers by all means should take him. Now, as far as for trade for Brock Purdy, I mean, Brock's a good quarterback. I do think he is, but when you've got a quarterback in Shador, who and Dreadnought Fear says, I'm thinking Shador will be around. You know, if you're asking me who, right now, who would I take, Brock or would I take Shador? You've got one quarterback. Okay, so sorry, I don't. Yeah, I agree, Dreadnought Fear. I'm with you. I think he'll be gone within the first 10 picks. I would almost bet the farm on it if I had one. Almost. Except I don't have a farm. But I would bet a farm on it if I had it. Shador's not making it out of the top. He's not going to last past the top 10. That's why him at 21, I'm like, if this does happen and he falls to the Steelers, you all better scoop him up pronto. And then I'll be looking at all the other 20 teams ahead of him that don't have a franchise quarterback. Why didn't you take Shador? What is it? Is it character issues? Because obviously you're not seeing something. But I'm with you, Dreadnought Fear. I don't think he's going to fall this low. I think this is one of them very hopefuls, maybe very optimistic. And Dreadnought Fear says Shador is gone by pick number 10. I agree. I would almost guarantee it too. We go back up here a little bit. Here's the top 10 picks. You've got the Titans, Browns, Giants, Patriots, Jaguars, Raiders, Jets, Panthers, Saints, Bears. Within the top 10. One of the teams is going to take Shador. Realistically, the Titans, possibly. Browns, possibly. Giants, very much. Patriots, no. They just drafted Drake May. Jaguars, no. Trevor Lawrence, when healthy, is their guy. Raiders, possibly. If he falls to the Raiders, possibly. Because Geno could be a bridge quarterback. Jets, absolutely. I could see it. Panthers, maybe. How much faith do they have in Bryce Young? That's going to be the question there. Because if you're a Panthers fan, Bryce Young showed strides last year of being a good to competent quarterback. And Dreadnought Fear says teams usually pick QBs way earlier than expected. Agreed. 100% agree, Dreadnought Fear. I mean, here's the thing. But to the Bryce Young point, I mean, he showed strides. He showed potential to be good to great. At times, his first year obviously was rough, but he's come around. Could I see Shador going to the Panthers? Absolutely. Because they could be like, just in case Bryce isn't it. But the Panthers, I think, are going to focus their attentions elsewhere. The Saints, I mean, how are we feeling on the Saints in the chat? I mean, are we buying Derek Carr? Is Derek Carr going to be the one to lead them in the future? I mean, Carr's been hit with the injury bug. He hasn't been healthy. I mean, could the Saints, if we're talking about Shador's stock falling this far, could the Saints pick him at 9? I don't think so. If he, I mean, now that Dennis Allen's gone, the Saints are starting on a whole new regime. I'm just more curious of what are we thinking here for the Saints? Is Derek Carr the guy? I don't know. I think he's a good quarterback, but if Shador's there, how can you not take him? If Shador's there, how can you not? And then a 10 obviously is the Bears, and obviously the Bears are not going to take Shador. They got Caleb Williams. So Shador is going to go anywhere from 1 to 10, and more than likely, he's going to go in the top 5. I say he gets either swooped up by the Giants, Titans, Browns, maybe Jets. He's going to go to one of them 4. And I would say the candidate would likely be the Titans or the Giants. Because I think the Browns might get a project quarterback and hope for the best that Deshaun stays healthy and doesn't do anything stupid off the field. Could be interesting, but Shador falling that low, not going to happen. And Dreadnought Fear says Bo Nix was projected to go in the second round. That is true. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be projected to go. We're mentioning these top quarterbacks, but let's not forget we've got Quentin Ewers, we've got Jackson Dart, we've got Tyler Shuck, Riley Leonard. We've got some other quarterbacks in this draft class besides Cam Ward and Shador that we need to get mindful to. This isn't. And like you said, Dreadnought Fear, that's a great point. Denver drafted him 15th in the first round. Yes, that's a very fantastic point, Dreadnought Fear. Is teams can sometimes overvalue guys, take a swing. And it goes back to what I said a couple minutes ago about this is the time of year where teams take swings on players and they either work out in their favor or they go absolutely haywire. And in Denver's case, them taking a swing of Bo Nix in the top 15, first year under Sean Payton's regime and with a new quarterback, and they go to the playoffs. Albeit they got stomped out by the Bills. But with all that being said, they still went to the playoffs in an offense that was projected to be almost statistically last in every category. And the Broncos were projected, I think, to win 6 games at most last year, even with Bo Nix. So anything is possible. Absolutely, Dreadnought Fear. That's a great point. There's always those quarterbacks that teams overswing on. But then there's also the duds too. Let's not forget Trey Lance a couple years ago. I mean, the 49ers took a big swing, and look at Lance now. They spent 3 first-round picks. They mortgaged their future for him. And they ended up going with Brock Purdy, who was taken last in the draft. And I agree with you, Dreadnought Fear. Shador Sanders may get drafted in the top 5. I absolutely think he will. I mean, there would have to be something very wrong with the top 5 if he's not gone, in my opinion. Would very much have to be, in my opinion, for him not to be a top 5 pick. But as we finish out this mock draft here, you've got the Chargers taking Colston Loveland. Doesn't surprise me because Jim Harbaugh loves his Michigan guys. So what does not surprise me that they're going to take a tight end. In here, Mikael Williams from Georgia for the Packers. Packers need some run defense. It's been their Achilles heel. Minnesota Vikings taking Malachi Starks from Georgia. Josh Simons from Ohio State for the Texans. Matthew Golden from the Rams. The second time we've seen his name pop up. Matthew Golden, who's a speed guy, like I said, can break the defense open. A Sean McVay kind of guy. So that would not surprise me if the Rams were to take him. At all, would not surprise me. And then, obviously, at 27, the Ravens take it. This is a name. Take Edge Donovan. That last name from Boston College. Detroit taking O lineman from North Dakota State. Number 29 for the Commanders from Texas A&M, Nick Sorority, or I don't know how you say that. Pardon me, but Buffalo Bills take Luther Burden at 30, which is interesting. Another project. Another project receiver for the Bills. They took Keon Coleman. I mean, Luther Burden's a guy, like I said, he's another one of them, I think, sleepers. Whoever gets Luther Burden, I think, is going to get a really solid slot guy. I haven't seen him go in many first-round mocks. I've seen him go in third, fourth. Some have even had him going fifth, sixth. I mean, I like him. I think he's good, but he's small. That's his downside. He's small. And we have a trading. The Giants trading to get Jackson Dart from the Chiefs. Could be interesting. Tyler Booker from Bama to Philly. I mean, these are some interesting choices. I mean, like I said, there's always going to be those risers in those players that nobody expects to do great, but do great. Like Patrick Mahomes, even though he was taken within the top 10, nobody expected this level of greatness from him this fast, at this level. And there's also been duds, like, not to bring it up, but Trey Lance. That was Titans. They took an old lineman a couple years ago. Isaiah Wilson had a lot of high potential coming out of college, but just couldn't stay out of trouble. I mean, Cowboys, as y'all know, I'm a Cowboys fan. We've had our fair share of duds over the years. I mean, as far as a lineman go, I mean, and Hummus says, I don't think Burden is that small. He's not Tez Johnson small. And that's true. That is true, Hummus. That is true. He's smaller for a receiver. He's not your typical NFL type size. He's on the smaller side. He's not Tez Johnson small, no. But a lot of teams would look at, and maybe at his size and be like, okay. I mean, look at Julian Edelman. He's a perfect example. Julian Edelman is a perfect example of this, in my opinion. Not the biggest guy, was a great slot receiver, was a key part in the Patriots dynasty. was originally drafted as a quarterback. And now, here we are. Julian Edelman's possibly a Hall of Famer. And I'm not saying that Luther Burden's going to turn into Julian Edelman. But a lot of teams do frown on your size. But you can make an impact. You can become the player for your team. Like Edelman was. Like Luther Burden could go to a team and be that Julian Edelman. He could be that. And Hummus says, yeah, he's not your prototypical X receiver. Yes. And I get your point, Hummus. He's not small compared to Tez Johnson. No, he's a little bit bigger than that. Yes, I agree. But he's not your, like you said, not your prototypical X receiver. He's not your he's not gonna wow you. He's not gonna wow you off the page. He's not gonna, how do I say this? He's not gonna be a guy when you watch him on film that you're gonna be like, I gotta have him. He's this. He's a guy that was great for his time at Missouri. And I think he will have a roster spot waiting on him in the NFL. I really do. Because I think he will fit in somewhere. Where that somewhere is, I don't know exactly. Like, according to the mock draft that I just showed, they think he would be a good fit in Buffalo. And Hummus says, actually, Burden is measured 6 inches even and 206 pounds at the combine. He's pretty average size. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point, too. Now that you think of it, and that's the typical size for an NFL receiver, too. So, like you said, he's a pretty average size. So maybe I underestimate him a little bit. Point being is, I'll say this. Like I said, he's not going to wow you, though. He's not going to be that guy that flies off the page like a Matthew Golden or a Carnell Tate or some of these other receivers. He's not going to, or Tez Johnson. He's not going to flash off the screen with his speed or his. He's a guy, though. He will make the contested catches. He will be the guy. And Hummus says, I think it's because he's so shifty, he seems smaller. Yeah. And thank you for bringing that up, Hummus. If you watch him when he route runs, he's kind of shifty. Like you wonder how he gets open sometimes, even in double coverage. There was one play I was watching in I believe it was the South Carolina game. I believe he was running a corner route, but he was bracketed, and the quarterback somehow fit it like in the back of the corner of the end zone and put it right on the numbers. And that was all Luther Burden. That was all him, and he was in the slot too. And to get bracketed out of the slot and to still find your way open, that's something I don't know how some receivers do it, in my opinion. That was pretty unique how he did that. It was a good thrown ball, but it was a better play because it was a corner route it was on the left side. It was the left side. He had one guy. He had the safety who was right there, but then they had the corner who came over from across the field to bracket, and he just made the right play. And this is the thing for me. Like you said, Hummus, and shifting is valuable to some teams. Like if you got a quarterback that can fit balls in tight windows, but can fit it in a tight window, you could become an asset to that team. Like a Josh Allen, if he does go to Buffalo, like the mock is saying, Josh Allen is a guy who can fit in any window. He can make any throw. We've seen him make throws going out of bounds. Or a play, or if he goes to the Cowboys, or he goes to the Vikings, if he falls in the lap of, say, the 49ers, there's some of these quarterbacks, like, they can make those throws. But, like, more importantly, the team that he was mocked to, the Bills, I think Josh Allen would have a field day with him as receiver, in my opinion. I think he would enjoy it because he's so shifty. But like you said, Hummus, he's also got a nice size to him. And Hummus says, I like Burden. I think he can be a solid pro. I agree. I think he can too. And let me ask this, and then is there any players in chat? And I'll give mine. Is there any players in the chat that you all think that we're overlooking, that's not getting enough credit in terms of draft stock? Like, is there any players that y'all think that we've overlooked that could be a first rounder or maybe a day two guy that needs a little more respect? And show this one more time. If anybody would like to call in, there's the link. Feel free to call in. More than welcome to as well. Not going to force anybody to. If you would like to, there it is. We'll talk. We can talk about the mocks. We can talk about whatever you want. What? But and of course, Hummus says JT. Let me say his last name right. JT Tomalua or Tamaloa. I can't say that. I'm sorry for butchering his name, Hummus. I'm not meaning to do it, but that is a Tomalui. Oh, you're good, Hummus. You're good. Hummus, you're all good. I'm just throwing that out there for anybody. But for anybody that wanted to call in, you're good, Hummus. Appreciate you being in the chat because it's always good to get feedback. But to your point, though, Hummus, I'm just going to say JT. I've seen a little bit of him at Ohio State. Obviously, he's one of them players at Ohio State. His value, I think, was underestimated, in my opinion, of how valuable he was to that team. And I'll say this too. I'll throw one in at you guys too that y'all may think I'm crazy for throwing at you, but I could make a good case and good argument that their draft stock is not being valued enough, in my opinion. And I know this may shock some of you, but James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. I haven't seen him a lot on these first round mocks. That was the first one I've seen. He's a guy that could single-handedly take over a game. And I don't know what caused his stock to go down, but he is a guy that could take over a game in a heartbeat. He was the Tennessee's defense. And I'll say this too, and to throw another one at you, Hummus, real fast. Jack Sawyer. I think whoever drafts Jack Sawyer is getting a great player. He's another guy I think not a lot of people are giving a lot of credit to. I think he's, you talk about being biased, Hummus. To toot your own horn, I think Jack Sawyer. I think he could be a first rounder. He was the guy who made the strip sack, who won the Texas game for you guys. But James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, though, he's one of them guys that could single-handedly wreck a game. And he's a good run stopper. And he would be one I would say, like I said, Jack Sawyer. Looking down, I mean, like I said, Tyler Shuck. To be a little biased, I would say Tyler Shuck definitely deserves some credit. Some of the footballs he's throwing in tight windows, definitely. I'm trying to think. Curtis Rourke from Indiana had a good year. Could be a solid backup in the pros. I mean, Cam Campers from Boise. He could be a solid fourth, fifth pro maybe. I think his value is being underestimated. And Hummus says, I love Jack, and I think he's a safer bet than JT, but I think JT has a higher ceiling. That's a good point, too, Hummus. And you would know more on that than I would, because you are the Ohio State connoisseur, so to speak. Like the thing is, too, correct me if I'm wrong, Hummus, in the chat. Jack Sawyer, he was one of Ryan Day's guys, correct? When he was one of the guys that he was not there when Urban Meyer left, correct? If I'm mistaken, I believe he was a Ryan Day recruit. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Hummus. But I believe he was a Ryan Day recruit. And the fact that he stuck it out all 4 years, and the fact that he had toughness and his ability to wreck a game. That's the thing that amazes me with Sawyer, is his ability when you need him to make a big play, he makes it. Like that Texas game. I'm not saying Texas would have scored, but if Sawyer doesn't get that strip sack and return it, that flips the game on its head. That essentially ends the game, so to speak. Well, it did end the game. Like scouts should look at that and be like, he's a winner. When it's big time, when it's clutch, Jack Sawyer's there for you. And like you said, JT has the higher ceiling. And that's the thing, too. Guys with higher ceilings, a lot of times the pros, they love that because they're like, there's still untapped potential. I think it's interesting. There's a lot of, and he says, oh yeah, all the players in the 2024 were Ryan's recruits. The last Urban recruit to play was Josh Proctor in 2023. Okay, thank you for that, Hummus. I wasn't quite sure if he was. So this past year's championship team, they were all Ryan recruits. Okay, I wasn't quite sure because I knew Jack Sawyer had been there a long time. He had been there quite a bit. I didn't know if he was there on the tail end of Urban's year. He just didn't get a chance to play. But okay, he was a Day guy, which explained why the bond with him and Coach Day was so strong. But that's one of them too, though. I think, let me ask you this, Hummus, before I go. Will Howard, do you think he gets drafted? He's another guy some people look at and think could be a sixth rounder, seventh rounder. Like Hummus in the chat and anybody else in the chat that wants to chime in. Do you think Will Howard gets drafted? I think. And Dreadnought Fierce says Jackson Dart QB Ole Miss. Yeah, I could see a lot of people, underestimating what Jackson Dart brings to the table. I mean, another one, Junkins, Henderson from the Buckeyes. I think they bring value. I think Colin Lacey. I mean, not Colin Lacey. Ja'Cory Brooks from Louisville. Wrong one. Colin Lacey's coming back. But Ja'Cory Brooks from Louisville, the Alabama transfer. I think he could be a round 5, round 4 guy. I think he could be a solid backup, a solid 4th, 5th option. I mean, it's all very interesting. But like you said, Jared Donfield, Jackson Dart, he's someone who's getting a lot of talk here lately. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the first round. I know there's some mocks that don't have him going until the 5th or 6th round. And Hummus says, I think somebody takes a chance on Will Howard. He's being mocked anywhere from late second to fifth. It's hard to say where he goes. It is true. I mean, here's the thing. I like Will Howard. I think he's a good quarterback. I know he gets a bad rep because of his first couple years at Kansas State. But this year at Ohio State, was that enough to make up for all of it? I don't know. I won't be the judge of that. Like, that's up to the scouts. But what he showed me on the film and on tape and on the field is in Dreadnought Fierce's Great Blue North Draft Report mock says Steelers take Dart at 21. I mean, do you think that that's being undervalued, Dreadnought Fear, as terms of somebody who's not getting enough credit? Do you think Jackson Dart could go top 15? Could go Bo Nix-ish type? But as you said, though, to Will Howard, I think, like you said, Hummus, I think somebody will take a chance on him. Do I think he's a day one starter? No. I think he goes to a team that's got an established quarterback. So you thinking, okay, you're thinking he could be a Bo Nix type. And Hummus says, I've been seeing Jackson Dart late first round to second. I mean, to Dreadnought Fear's point, could he play Bo Nix's role? I mean, here's the thing. The teams that we've shown in the top 15, I mean, or do you think someone trades up for him? I mean, because Dreadnought Fear, you're not the only one that's high on Jackson Dart. There's a lot of people that are high on him that think he's got the potential to do great things in the league. And I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying the people that don't think he is wrong. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion on that. I'll just say this. I like Jackson Dart. Like I said, he's got a good arm. He's mobile. But once again, how much of that was Jackson Dart's system and how much of that is not? Like Bo Nix, everyone thought he was a system quarterback. And then it turns out he was every bit as good as advertised as he was at Oregon under Dan Lanning. And he was, well, not so much at Auburn. Auburn, he had his struggles. But I mean, I could see it. I very well could see Jackson Dart, someone taking a flyer on him in the top 15. And the way it sounds is Dreadnought Fears is you were on the Jackson Dart top 15 bandwagon. He's that good. Someone take a flyer on him. I'll say this. If you do, make sure he's in an offensive system where he can succeed. Because if he goes to honestly, I don't know why I haven't mentioned him or we haven't mentioned him in the chat, but Dylan Gabriel, he's another guy that not a lot of people are giving value to. Here's another one, Riley Leonard at quarterback. I think he's a solid quarterback. He's a solid pro. I think he's one of them that he's a running quarterback. I think he could be used in packages for teams. I think he could. His arm is to be desired, yes, but he could be used in a lot of hybrid package, kind of like Taysom Hill, enough to threaten the defense. But like you said, Dreadnought Fierce and Dylan Gabriel, absolutely. Dylan Gabriel, one of the most accurate passers in college football history, broke a lot of records this year. Not a lot of people are giving the third in Heisman voting a lot of respect. Could he be a day 4, day 5 guy that somebody takes a flyer on? Could be. But it's all very interesting. I mean, the NFL mock is something that, as we get closer to the draft, it's something for us to look at. I thought it was a fun experience because there's a lot of people you could throw out there like Dylan Gabriel, Jackson Dart, Will Johnson, Mason Graham. There's a lot of great names out there. There's a lot of underrated names flying under the radar. And Dreadnought Fear says, who is Dallas's QB? Right now it's Dak Prescott. But our backups consist of, we don't have a backup at the moment. So I could see Jerry taking a flyer on somebody. I really could, maybe in the third or fourth round. Currently, our depth chart, we have no backups. Cooper Rush is gone. Trey Lance is gone. Right now, it's just Dak. And don't get me wrong, I love Dak to death. But we need a backup because Dak has been able to stay healthy. Like, don't even get me started on our injury history with Dak. I'll be here all night. And he says the Steelers were going to sign Dak Prescott. I mean, that's interesting. That is interesting. I haven't heard that one, Dreadnought Fear, but that would have been interesting to see. That would have been very, very, very interesting to see, in the least. But, like I said, the mock is always a fun time of the year. Very interesting. Yep. We ended up paying him the money he asked for, and Jerry ended up ponying it all up. So there is that. But I will say this. I've had fun doing this mock, kind of making predictions throughout. I think it's one of them time of years where you can do it any time of the year. And it was a fun conversation because Hummus, Dreadnought Fear, and everyone in the chat had some great comments. And hopefully for everybody's team, we all get better in the spots we need to. Like, and Dreadnought Fear says the Steelers need a 6'5" big QB. Yeah. I mean, they need a Ben Roethlisberger archetype. Would not hurt. And for sure, I'm with you on that, Dreadnought Fear. I mean, Russell Wilson is on the smaller side, and he's still dangerous at times. But there is times, too, where danger Russ and letting Russ cook can get a little dangerous. And like I said, last call before I end the show for the night. If anybody wants to call in, last call. I won't pester y'all anymore. I know, Hummus, you said you're good, which is completely fine. Last call, if anybody wants to call in, because this is a call-in show. If not, I will wrap things up, give closing remarks, and tell you what I've got coming up. But last call, if anybody wants to call in, there's a link in the chat. I'll put it in the description one more time. And then I'll stop pestering you all. Because I'm sure y'all are getting annoyed with this. But, and Dreadnought Fear says cold snow in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I agree. But last call. But, like you said, it's always fun time of the year. Mock drafts are the best. They are, I think, one of the best times of year. I enjoy talking about it. I know a lot of people, they live and breathe for these kind of things. And hopefully all of our teams can get what they need because the NFL season is going to be right around the corner. I know the schedule release will be out soon. Looking forward to that. But what I've got going on this week is, obviously, you can follow me here on my channel, Harold Sport Talk with Austin 2002. I might have Sweet 16 Elite 8 predictions out this week. I might do a college basketball stream. You never know. No, but I appreciate Hummus, Dreadnought Fear. Appreciate y'all for being here. This was fun. Appreciate y'all for being here for the night. But with all that being said, said, though, I bid you all a farewell, a goodbye, and a go cards. And I will see you all in the next stream.